Folks, this is Scott Johnson here with Curt Cobb, who's running for Bedford County Mayor in Bedford County, Tennessee. And we want to thank the Grindstone Cowboy, a nice facility restaurant up here on the historic Bedford County Shelbyville Square. We've got the courthouse in the background, the historic courthouse. And we're going to talk to Curt a little bit today about running for mayor and some of his platforms for running for county mayor here. You know, Curt, one of the things that amazes me, because I talk to a lot of potential candidates, is people are having a hard time having the courage to run for office nowadays because there's so much chaos, so much misinformation on social media. And what kind of motivated you to run for Bedford County Mayor?
Well, first I'm sane, that's for sure, but there's several factors, Scott, that motivated me to run for county mayor. I've lived here my whole life. And went to school here, had my children here, raised them here. I live here. I will be buried here in Bedford County in Flat Creek at some point.
I think we both have graves in the same cemetery.
We do. We sure do. We sure do.
Well, shout out to Rosebank.
That's right, Rosebank Cemetery. And but yeah, I have for years. Years ago, I was a state representative, and I was involved, and I worked with the city and the county, and had other counties and cities and municipalities in my in my district. But I've noticed here in the last few years, in the age of, I guess, internet and other things, that there's been a lot of negativity towards government, towards, the relationships between the city and the county have not been so good. I think they are a little bit better this year. They seem to be going in the right direction compared to where they have been in the past. But, if you want government to work for the people and represent the people, the city and the county, and I'm talking about the city of Shelbyville and all the municipalities, but they need to be working together. They need to be working together for not only to work with each other to help with services, education, planning, all those things. And I just feel like that in my career as a state representative, and, as a clerk at Master, and chair of the 911 district and other boards and nonprofits, I've been involved in, for the last, I guess, 30 years, I've been involved in stuff. And, I feel like that that has been one of my greatest skills, I think, is I feel like that I've been able to get people to work together. Nobody does anything by themselves. And so you bring people together, get the best and most talented people together and move that policy or that idea or reach that goal.
Of course, Curt, I've known you for about 20 years now.
Yeah.
And I think you hit on some key points there, which are you just didn't start getting involved in this community in the last couple of years. You've been involved in this community for a long, long time, trying to make it a better place to live and work. And a lot of times we get people that just move in here and all of a sudden try and change everything. But there's that core group of folks that have really tried to make Shelbyville and Bedford County a better place to live and work, and I count you on one of those. Government itself can't be everything to everybody, okay? But there is some core things that government has to do. So let's kind of talk about those a little bit, and let's start out with public safety. That's not a private enterprise thing. That's a government type thing. How do you feel about public safety?
Well, it's essential for sure, and it's vital, especially in counties like ours and rural areas. And when I think of public safety, we've talked about this a lot on Scott's on the 911 board with me as well, and we talk about response times. And response times mean life or death. A few seconds can make a difference, whether somebody's house is getting robbed or house is on fire or somebody's needing medical treatment. And so I think it's important that, we support those people, we retain those people that are first responders, and we make sure we provide those services to the best of our ability for the citizens of Shelbyville, Bedford County, Wartrace, Normandy, and Bell Buckle. I mean, it's that those services that we can provide is do the best that we can do for them.
And obviously having a safe community, whether it's EMS or fire or emergency management or law enforcement, it is a key because people, above anything else, want to feel safe. And when they call for an ambulance and they're having a heart attack, they want one coming not in an hour and a half. They want one coming in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a certain level of service that you have to provide, which I think sometimes folks don't understand. And there's certainly a cost to doing that. But It always amazed me when people talked about defunding the police and stuff. I said, really?
Yeah.
I mean, give me a break, okay? So I know that our philosophy here has been always to make sure we adequately fund police, fire, EMS, emergency management, to help take care of our people here and
That's
keep
right.
safe. One of the other probably one of the largest parts of county government is, of course, public education. And I know you're a big supporter of public education, but why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Well, education is, I got to hear a lot about it growing up because my mother is a retired teacher now. I had an aunt, retired teacher.
You grew up with it.
My grandmother was a retired teacher. My late grandmother, and but yeah, every Christmas and Thanksgiving, I got to hear about different things about education. Teachers are very passionate people, and they care about what they do, and they want to see their kids do well and succeed. And so whenever I was elected state representative, I got a lot of calls, not only from my family, but from other things. And we were able to do a lot of things when I was in the General Assembly. We were able to raise the teacher salaries above the Southeast average. That was one of the plans that we had. We were able to, we had a schools first program, that policy that we passed. It was a governor's initiative that we were able to pass that got millions of dollars more for K through 12 education, and we started the voluntary pre-K program. And so there's a lot of things that we did. I feel like that made a difference in our community. But if we're going to have a successful community, it starts with education. If you want better jobs,
foundation, right?
That's right. It's the foundation. You want better jobs. You want people to make more money. If you look at, Bedford County, unfortunately, the truth hurts, but our per capita income is less than the counties around us. And if you look at the city of Shelbyville, about 67% of the people that live in the city rent. Rent. And if you look at the Southeast average, about 65% of the people own their own home that they live in them. So, we have some demographics there, and to raise salaries, we got to work on jobs, and to get jobs, the companies want highly skilled people, and they want people that have been educated. So. With schools, it's not only important to get the basic educations, but as we get into the technical training, without getting into all the initials and stuff that a lot of people won't understand, but to get into the technical school training, there's a lot of companies that when they come in, they'll say, hey, what do we, we're needing so many welders. And so a lot of them now start welding in high school, and then they go on to the TCAT. Tennessee College.
And you can make a really good salary.
They can. And so there's a lot of things that the school system has done, can do, and I hope we continue to tailor programs to help the needs and make it better, give a better opportunity for families to have a better living, better quality of life in Bedford County. And I think that should be one of the goals of government, is try to make policies that don't put burden on the people, the people or the citizens or taxpayers, but to increase their quality of life. I think that should be the ultimate goal. Provide the services and increase their quality of life.
I know one of the issues that Mayor Graham had was making sure that we kept our kids out of portable classrooms because, number one, they're not safe. Number two, it separates the kids from the rest of the schools and stuff. And, through a lot of hard work and without raising taxes, we've been able to basically get the kids out of portable classrooms, and I assume that's something that you'll continue to focus on as well as mayor.
Yes, and I think that's something as we're growing. Most of the growth is in the city, but guess what? The city kids are go to the county school system because the county is responsible for all of it.
We built Cartwright Elementary because of city school kids, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And one of the largest elementary school in Bedford County.
Yeah,
and it's almost full.
Wow.
So I know that's one of the things in the next administration, as mayor, you'll have to take on is probably building another school within the next 4 years or so because of the growth that we're having. And most of that growth, speaking of growth, because that's always a topic, I think when people, they need to look really closely. Where is the growth in Bedford County, Curt?
Yeah. Well,
I'm talking about like housing and stuff like
that's
that.
right.
Where's the growth?
Well, and there's a few things. I guess I'll get into the basics of this a little bit. If anybody, our planning commission, the county. I'm not on the planning commission, but
Right.
the county planning commission's online now, so people can go and watch.
Sure,
the
yeah,
meetings
and they should.
and they should. And they can watch and they
Participate,
get
yeah.
information. But you don't. I haven't seen much out in the mainstream in the press or on the internet much talking about this. But I think I was one of the meetings the other day, and they're talking about the growth, and then Chris was I think pretty much telling them so in the county. And when I say in the county, I'm talking about the unincorporated part of the county. That's what Bedford County governs, the unincorporated part.
Right.
And then the municipalities are responsible for what goes on in their cities.
They have their own planning.
Far as,
Like Shelbyville has their own planning commission.
They have their own planning commission as far as, building homes or growth or businesses or whatever zoning, those type issues or whatever they have that jurisdiction. So in the unincorporated area, my understanding from the information is that we're actually growing less than the counties that are around us, just a little bit, close with some.
Right.
Of course, Rutherford's really growing.
Yeah.
And then in the city, I think Chris said the county, in the unincorporated part of the county, subdivisions that they approve is about 38 lots per year on the last 5 years if you just
Out in the
average.
county.
Out in the county,
the
unincorporated
unincorporated
part, about
areas,
38 lots. Now, that doesn't count if, 5-acre tracts.
Those don't need approval, right?
They don't need approval. They're exempt by state law. There's nothing that the county government can do.
But it has to be 5 acres.
Yeah, it has to be 5 acres or more. So if there's 5
To
acres
not
or more,
come to the planning
they can
commission.
go split up a farm and they don't even have to form them. They have to send them a letter or
Right,
anything.
right.
They just do it. And with that, and then they have some minor subdivisions that are like 5 lots or less. There's a few of them. But they just have major and minor. The unincorporated part of the county doesn't have apartments, doesn't have condos or townhouses or anything in the last 10 years.
High density.
So high density. No high density, which I've heard some people this election time come up to me and say, stop it out in the county, outside the, but I said, we don't have it.
I was going to say, I don't.
Yeah, I think that's just some misinformation. But the city has approved, I think the last I'd heard, like they said, in the last 5 years, over 2,200 residential lots.
Say that number again.
2,200 residential lots. And then this last one was 500 and something lots. So I think you add it. And then, there's apartment complexes. So, they're building close to 100 units behind Walmart right now.
Okay.
And there's some 50 somewhere else on the other side of town. But there's quite a bit of people, or investors building rental property in the city, but the county has no
City
control.
has jurisdiction over that.
Yeah. But what I do think that is important.
But it affects our education system.
It affects everything. It affects the constitutional offices. It affects the elected offices. They grow. It affects
Ambulance
the courts,
service,
the jail. We sit on 911 talking about ambulance service. I think our numbers are now up to about 80% of the medical calls are in the city.
City of Shelbyville. That's
City
correct.
of Shelbyville, about 80% of them, which I think when I first got on the board, 12, 13 years ago, it was around in the low 60s or something like that. So
Sounds right.
So it's growing quite a bit, and so that's just something we have to tackle and do the best that we can. But I'd love to see the city and the county working together on planning and having more communication. Our planners get along well. They do talk to each other on the phone.
They do.
But I think as far as a long-term vision, we need to be working together. Regional planning, Scott, I think on transportation is just vital. When
It's critical.
In 2006, when the bypass was funded, Jim Tracy and I worked on that.
I remember that.
And we worked hard on it. And, we just lost Jim, which was a big loss
Huge,
for Bedford County and the state of Tennessee, at Rutherford as well.
Good man, yeah.
Good man, good family, and our condolences are to his family. But back to, we worked on that pretty hard. And so the next phase was supposed to come from 231 over to 41A and then to 64, which is Lewisburg Highway.
Right.
And, there's a lot of growth on that side of town on Union Street, 41A out that direction. That's where the city seems to be growing the most.
Some proposed subdivisions are out
There's
there.
proposed, that one that just got approved is out there. And so they really need the bypass to come around to 41A. I've heard it from many, many people when I've been out there. They actually like to see Union Street like widened and having a turning lane. I think they're going to do part of it for that subdivision, but they like to see all that. And so what I'm saying here is I'm committed, and I've put a little thing on Facebook a while back. Our development district has a regional planning organization, which is a committee that meets,
Right.
and that's where the projects start. That's where the planning starts.
The county mayor sits on that committee,
And the
right?
the county board mayor sits on the board.
Okay.
But the county mayor can go to those meetings, and I think they've had some technical staff going to those meetings, and the city as well. But I want to get really involved in that and get more aggressive and try to get those things going. And they seem like they've been stagnate. You know, our state rep and our state senator, they've done a great job of getting things. Just got some utility money for the county not too long, this last budget, you know, that I think they Representative Marsh announced going out 231 North. But they can't help us. It doesn't matter who it is at the state, TDOT or our legislative delegation. They can't help us if we don't help ourselves. We got to get it in the plan, and we got to be pushing, and we got to show the need. We got to get the studies and things of that nature, and work with them to get them where they can get them where they can get them funded. And that's something that's got to start on the local level. And you know, what I've heard my whole life is, you got to help yourself before somebody else can really help you some. So it's a partnership.
And those kind of, and let me say this, Curt, because like I said, I've known you for a couple of decades. And of course, your time in the state legislature, and you made a lot of contacts. And I've seen you pick up the phone and call people at the state and get something done. And I think that as far as a candidate for here, that's a unique thing that you have is those infrastructure things require state funding.
Yeah.
They require state coordination. And I just want to make a comment here that you're already there. You already have those contacts and those relationships that you have to build with our state folks to be able to get things done, right?
Yes, and I have an understanding. I mean, I have an understanding of the process. And I think that's part of it
Right,
as well.
right.
And so everything has phases. And when you start talking about infrastructure and you start talking about the things of that nature with the state, those things don't happen overnight. But you got to get the ball rolling. And so my goal is to get the ball rolling, is get that ball moving, and it's have a goal in sight, and it's head in the right direction.
Well, Curt, we've talked about, of course, public safety. You've always been a strong public safety guy and strong education. We touched a little bit on economic development. That's obviously a critical piece to all of this that we're just talking about. So tell us a little bit about economic development.
Well, I used to sit on the Economic Development and Tourism Board for the Chamber of Commerce several years ago.
I remember that.
I guess that was about 3 chambers ago. I guess
Yeah,
three different,
I remember that.
3 different models.
Yeah.
And I think you were on there with me for a while,
I was,
quite a bit. And when I was in the General Assembly, I was on Commerce Committee, and I was an officer on Commerce Committee. And they had 2 subcommittees. If you're an officer, you chair one of the subcommittees. So I chaired utilities, banking, and small business. So the policies that we go through, the policies that the Commissioner of Economic Community Development or the governor's policies for that they wanted to change to attract businesses, they would go through the subcommittee I chaired. So I actually carried some legislation. I was involved with those. I understand that process as well. But when we're going back to the per capita income, not to harp on it, but if you it's important, but we have a low per capita income. To get that up, we need to get good jobs in here. We need to have opportunities. We need to have businesses in here that everybody wants to. Back when I was rep, we had a whole lot of expansions. We didn't have an industrial park, so there's a lot of expansions. If you remember, I think we got Summit Palmer's, which ended up being something else later on, was an injection molding that was new.
Right.
But business retention, it's important to retain businesses. To be able to
keep the ones we're already at the dance with.
Here. Yeah. Look at Cooper Steel. Look what they've done for our community. It's unbelievable. It's just crazy. They're like a unicorn.
Over $1 billion company.
Yeah, they are. They're like a unicorn, and they're
locally owned,
homegrown.
Yep.
And so we're very proud of them. But when you get businesses that expand, number one, you want to retain businesses. Number two, you want to help them expand. And then number 3, I know everybody likes the new shiny thing, but you want to recruit new businesses in here. And so those are the 3 phases on the business part of recruiting them, and then there's a tourism side. But I do believe that to get, and I know to get people's incomes up is we need to get those jobs in here. And then again, that's where the city and the county, I keep harping to this, the city more likely, well, if you're going to have a factory or something like that because of the infrastructure, they're going to go in the city.
It's going to be in town. That's
It's
correct.
going to be in the city of Shelbyville. And so it's very, very important that that the city of Shelbyville is working with the county on those things. And there's places in Wartrace, and some places out there we'll work with them as well. But it's very important that we work together to get those jobs. And that hadn't been happening here in the last few years. There hasn't been that camaraderie and that.
Well, it certainly has to be a
sync,
partnership,
but
no doubt.
Yes. And so we need to do that, work with the Chamber of Commerce, work with all the partners, work with everybody.
Utilities.
Utilities, yep. And utilities are a huge factor, with economic development. So those type things, we need to all be working together with the same goal in mind. We've done that in the past, and those are some of the most successful years we've had as far as expansions.
Right.
And then there's, and then opportunities change. And if you look, and I'm going to pivot here a little bit out of that, but if you look into now at our opportunity from what everybody says and all the experts, Bedford County has a great opportunity for tourism. The South Central tourism.
I think what I heard at one meeting is we're number 1 out of 14 counties for potential.
That's right, for potential. And so, and you look at Bell Buckle, they have a lot of charm.
They do a great job out there. Yeah.
And I tell you, I've been out in Wartrace here lately. They're coming up. They got a lot of business leaders.
Bring it on, Wartrace.
They got a lot of business leaders, and they're working hard on that as well. And they're having some things in Bell Buckle going on. I mean, in Wartrace going on that are really great as well. So they're very unique towns that are special. Downtown Shelbyville, they got things going on. Normandy, blew my mind. I went to the music festival the other night in Normandy, and wow, what a group of people out there, large number of people
doing a good job,
having a good thing. The downtown Normandy. So
we had celebrations, diversified
celebration, in Cooper Steel Arena. Man, I mean, there's more events coming. They're doing different type things. So we have all these.
Which brings sales tax revenue. That
go-kart track out there, they say is just rocking. The people are coming from all over the place. Yeah. Hopefully things will work out with a near screen. Here before long, some of the reports that they said that some investors were looking at buying it. So hopefully it will stay the same, whether they work it out or investors buy it or whatever. We want the best for it, and it's only going to benefit Bedford County because it's such a great asset.
Well, I think one of the things that people sometimes forget is that increased sales tax revenue may lead to not having to rely so much on property tax. I mean, if you have significant sales tax revenue, so that's why tourism so critical, right?
Yeah, that's right, absolutely. And there's no saying, Scott, there's no better revenue than a good economy. So if you have businesses and they're doing well, people spend money. It's just a cycle. When I was in the General Assembly, when I first got there, they had a battle over this little issue called the state income tax. And so everybody was like all up in arms. They had just had that major vote and people were upset and it failed. Thank goodness it failed. Right. That makes Tennessee unique. That's one of the reasons we're growing, I believe.
Absolutely.
A lot of people are moving here for that. But it goes to show you we've had a strong state. I mean, I think Tennessee's ranked 49th in the nation in state and local tax burden because of the revenues. And people come here and they spend money because they don't have an income tax, and people come here and invest. And so you got to look at that factor of where that dollar goes and how it goes. So you want people to invest in jobs and in tourism and stretch that dollar that helps our schools and helps our public safety.
That's true. Absolutely. Probably, of course, I've been a county commissioner for the last 4 years here in Bedford County. And, when I first took office, Curt, people would call me about, hey, can you get that pothole filled out front of my yard, or can you do this or whatever? Typical kind of stuff that you help your constituents out and get stuff done. But over the last couple of years, 90% of the phone calls I get easily are about misinformation on social media. Mm-hmm. So they call me to go, hey, this is what I heard. I said, where did you hear that? I mean, because it's very erroneous. I'd say 80% of the time when somebody calls me. And I mean, I'm a huge believer in the First Amendment. I spent 23 years in the military defending the First Amendment. But the amount of misinformation, and I've even had people call me here lately, they're actually lying now on social media, not just omission. What do you think you can do as county mayor to combat that type of thing that's out there now that's kind of tears our community apart a lot of times as far as getting the right information out there?
Well, I work now in the court system, and my job is the clerk and master. And when you walk in that courtroom, and you've been in law enforcement,
A little while.
it's a lot different than just getting out here speaking about politics and stretching the story or whatever. But we go on facts, not fiction. And,
Say that again.
We go on facts,
not fiction.
Not
Thank you.
fiction. Yes.
Thank you.
And so those are the things that happen. And my as the county mayor, I will be trying to put the facts out there for the public. I will be doing a regular. Probably little update podcast on what's going on, information. Of course, some weeks I might be telling them about events because nothing major might be going on. But I want to try to, get on the internet, keep people informed. They have John Carney over there writes newsletter, try to make that more accessible. I want the meetings to be, I want as many meetings as we can. Josh Carney might want to kill me, the IT director, but I'd like to see as many meetings and things on the internet as we can. I think y'all have made that.
Oh, absolutely.
Y'all have made that.
We need that. Yeah.
But I think what happens a lot of time is when you go out here on the street and you walk around, somebody tells you a story, and then somebody else tells you a story, and they tell you a story. Well, that story changes a little bit, and I think that's kind of what happens with the internet. Internet's a great tool. It's a great asset. I'm probably addicted to it to some degree, like a lot of people are. I get a lot of news there. But it's kind of like when you write that old college paper, you got to cite those sources. And so, I think we're
back on facts again.
They're back on facts,
not fiction.
So that's right,
Okay.
Facts, not fiction. So I think
that's a good slogan.
Yeah,
facts, not fiction.
Facts, not fiction. And but you got to cite those sources. I think that we need to put good sources out there, good information, and this is what we're going. And yes, there's going to be opinions, but I think
which are different than facts.
That are different.
There's nothing wrong with opinions.
There's nothing wrong with opinions,
but they're not facts necessarily.
That's right. But I think that's I get out with the public, and my office will be open. People can come up there and sit down and talk to me. I've always, a lot of people call me on the phone now, talk about stuff and all. But if I don't know the answer, I'll find out. I'll get an answer. I'm not only just going to pull something out of the air and tell somebody something wrong. And and I can't fix every problem, but I can put an effort forth, and I promise to put an effort and try to help people and do that. That's how I ran my legislative office. I had really good constituent services and had staff that helped a lot of people that called from all kinds of problems. They got the craziest calls in the world. I'm not going to go into those, but
that's just part of
it, real legitimate. Yeah. So that's something I want to do is I want to make sure that the mayor's office, because it is the complaint department for the county. They're going to get all the complaints if somebody's got something.
It is.
And so that's something that's important is it's open and accessible and that we're able to address the needs of the people. And I want it's the people's office that they're to be accessible for them.
And along those lines, Curt, and I want to make this comment because I've known you for so long, is Curt's a very good listener. Absolutely. We get a lot of people that they just want to talk. A lot of elected officials, when you call them, they just want to talk because they want you to take their side of it. In your case, I never experienced that. I always experienced you'd sit there and you'd listen. And then you'd give us what was ever going on for real.
Yeah.
So I just want to compliment you on being I think there's almost nothing more important as an elected official to be a good listener.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
that's right.
And I can honestly say that you have been that way ever since I've known you.
Yeah,
from day one. Is there anything else you want to talk about today, Curt?
Well, I would like to touch base just a little bit on something, and I'm going to bring it up because you're a commissioner. And I know there's been a lot of talk about the senior tax freeze. And Scott's going, oh, no, you brought this up. But
You talking about misinformation?
yeah, well, there's
Oh,
all
okay.
kinds of misinformation.
Right.
You know, I think it was 16 years ago, I was a sponsor of the enabling legislation to allow counties and cities to have the tax freeze or the senior tax freeze. Back then, there is a program, and I've been really disappointed, Scott, when and I'm not pointing the fingers at anybody, but there's a tax relief program.
Which we implemented like 2 years ago.
Yes, I sat down with somebody the other day. I know it
Right.
because I'm clerk and master.
We're talking about cash money.
And I had somebody who was upset about the tax freeze, and I went and sat down with them and gave
Explain
them
the facts to
They
them.
qualified for the city. They qualified for the county. And I think it's a very, and yeah, I mean, far as what they told me. I didn't go to the office with them.
Right.
But I've been carrying those around. I've been campaigning because people ask. And so,
Sure,
hey.
absolutely.
But the thing about the tax relief program, they get immediate help right then. I mean, they'll get.
We're talking cash money.
That's right. And I do understand why the county commission did not pass it this year, not knowing that there wasn't going to be a tax increase.
It wasn't going to benefit anybody.
Implementing the cost.
Right.
But I want the public to know I'm committed to revisiting that. I think we need to revisit it. I think we need to look at trying to see if we can't get those costs down. You know, if you look at my office every year as a clerk and master, they pass laws. They require us to do more work every year. We find ways to absorb it. You know, I'm not saying everybody can do that. Some have more work and some don't. But, you know, I have less staff now than I did when I started in 2009, and I have the longest longevity of any of the offices.
Right.
I have really good people. So you have really good trained and really good people. You can do less.
Sure,
So better
yeah.
take care of them than I'm not a guy who just put bodies in there. But I mean, I want to look. I want to sit down with the assessor's office. I want to sit down with the trustee's office and see if we can't get those costs down and see if the county commission sets the policy. Everybody thinks the mayor does. He can recommend, but the
Commission has to vote.
Commission sets the tax rate. They set
Appropriate
the
money.
policy. Appropriate the money.
money.
The mayor can make recommendations. If he's the chairman, he could possibly break a tie, which is happens almost as much as getting hit by lightning to have a tie,
Right.
but a chance of hitting by lightning. But the thing is I want to revisit. I want to look at it. I think it's important. I want to do everything we can to give resources to help our seniors, to help our veterans.
Absolutely.
Veterans. And
Because guess what? If it's going
That's
to
right.
benefit, if
That's
there's
right.
actually going to be a tax increase, there'll be 18 votes
That's
to
right.
do it.
That's right.
When there's not going to be a tax increase and it costs a lot of money to implement, you're not going to have 18
Yeah,
votes.
yeah.
So in the future, I think you'll see every one of those commissioners voting for that when and if we have to do a tax increase.
And I think and I hope there's not that subject doesn't get brought up anytime soon. You know, that's the goal is to
Talking about a tax increase?
Tax increase, yes. The goal is
A lot of
is
that
to
depends on several litigation issues right now. So.
Yeah, that's right. Litigations, and I also have Scott. I have some management ideas for some changes.
All right.
I hope we got time for this. But number one, you sit on finance. You've been on there for a while. You know, Bedford County has one of the best financial management reporting. Records in the state.
When the comptroller comes down and gives you awards, you're probably doing okay.
So we're in the top probably 7, 8, 6 every year in that category.
In the whole state.
In the whole state, yeah. What I'd like to see is I would like for us to look at, and I've talked to finance. I mean, they've already been investigating some of these things, and they've been working on it. But I want to get more involved in the procurement and purchasing process. I'd like to get someone either trained or get an expert in that's in procurement and to assist the elected officials and to assist the department heads in purchasing. And they also have some software now that we'll need, because it's going to have to be studied. So it's not several people are going to have to be involved. You just can't force elected officials into doing something. So,
Right.
So we got to get them involved, got to get department heads involved, finance is involved, finance committee, which is going to be just about all new, involved. But when you put these new purchasing, if you get an expert in there that can, and there's some software they have now that shows all the bids in the state of Tennessee and the Southeast. So a person that knows what they're doing can go in there and get find the lowest bid. And so, and by law, you can piggyback off their bid, as you know.
Correct.
And so that wasn't accessible. This is kind of a new emerging thing the last few years,
Right.
This type of technology. And governments are kind of always later to the game than businesses. But you can find the lowest bid, you can get those prices down. And then what you can do is say, hey, to your local companies, can you match these prices? You know, you got to have policies in place for that. But
Sure.
can you match these prices, or can you get your prices down? And so those are things that are important. I have a plan for fuel, for a fuel savings, which I'm not going to get into. It takes too long for that. Take a whole interview. Also, I have like to have the buildings, the county buildings, energy audited. We might have to invest a little money, but you pay for it by the savings on your utilities, and eventually you're saving money. The school system has done that. I don't think the county has done that on their county buildings. And then the state has an employees incentives program that if employee saves the county money, if they're able to save the county money on a recurring basis, then they can get a bonus. And the state employee, I like to see that on the county level to do that. Now, I don't think department heads or elected officials should get it, but should benefit. But I think employees should be able to get it, and that way, you know, if they save money, they get that incentive, and you're creating a culture, Scott. I want to create a culture throughout county that when they're looking at something, they're looking at trying to be more efficient, whether it's response time, which they already do that. I mean, public safety is the best at that. Trying to be more efficient in the way they do work, the way they purchase things, or as how they find an idea to save the county money. And I think if you create that culture, I think we'll all benefit, and the departments will benefit, and the taxpayers will benefit from those that type of culture.
Well, Curt, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you talking about all these different areas. I think we're about out of time.
Yep.
But, you know, I think here's the bottom line, and I'll make this comment. I said, I can't think of anybody else right now that's better prepared to be the county mayor than Curt Cobb. It's day one.
Yeah.
Step in, start making things happen. And I appreciate you having the courage to run and to do the right thing and to give back to the community and make Bedford County a better place to live and work.
Well, thank you, Scott, and I appreciate you being able to interview me. And I just want to also reciprocate. I know you've been our EMA director for Bedford County, and what you've done with it was unbelievable. All the stuff that you've done throughout the county and being on the county commission. And I know your time of service is getting ready to be over for the county commission, but I appreciate your service. And I know you'll continue to be involved and to help the county as you always have. And we all have the same goal. We love this county. We want it to be better. We want
Absolutely.
our citizens to have better quality of life. But thank you.
Thank you, and thanks to the folks out there listening today.